Am Too Afraid to Ask, Part 1, voiced by Reddit Rabbit. How do I tell my brother to stop fapping in the same hotel room as me? Every year my parents organize a trip for the holidays, which means that my brother and I often have to share a hotel room, since it's way cheaper than booking 2 separate bedrooms. This is completely fine by me. My parents are generous enough to pay for the trip, and it's an amazing experience, so I wouldn't mind sharing a room, sometimes even a bed, with my brother if it wasn't for the fact that he obviously faps in the bathroom while I'm in the room with him. My parents are extremely active people, and when we travel we usually leave the hotel early and return late. So when we get to the room we usually have a couple hours to unwind in bed before sleeping, at which point he goes to the bathroom and locks himself for like 15 minutes before coming out again. And you might be wondering, what's the issue? He's doing it in the bathroom, not next to you or anything. But anyone who's ever stayed at a hotel knows that the rooms are tiny, and sometimes those walls are paper thin, so believe me when I say that I can hear everything that's happening in there, which makes me extremely uncomfortable. Am I being unreasonable for thinking that he shouldn't fap when I'm in the premises? Or, I don't know, at least putting a bit of effort into disguising it, like doing it when he's showering? I'm not some kind of prude that hates fapping or anything. I do it a lot myself, just not when he's around. And when we're on holiday, I usually restrain myself or, once again, wait till he's gone to do it. I'm very non-confrontational, and sex is not something we ever talk about, so I feel extremely uncomfortable bringing this up to him. I've thought about telling our mom about it so she could help me find a solution, but I also think that I'm old enough to not tattle to our mom when something's bothering me. I don't know, what should I do? How do I tell him that what he's doing is making me uncomfortable? Is there another solution? Just knock on the wall loudly 20 seconds after he starts. Nothing kills a boner better than the element of shock. If he asks who was that, say who was what. If he proceeds, just say all that fapping is getting inside your head. You should probably stop before you do yourself psychological, irreversible damage. Tap the wall or something that tells him you can hear without having to actually talk. And sync the rhythm of the tapping for added effect. Hey, pretty sure I can hear you beating your meat like it owes you money. Could you do it in a way I can't hear it, please? Practice coming with your inside voice. If he's fapping in the bathroom, that's the best place to do it, but you can let him know you can hear him. He will be very embarrassed. What I can't understand, though, is how does she hear it? Pulling your Mickey isn't loud. Unless she can hear the prawn from his phone or something, that's a different issue. He should pretend he's taking a shit and crank one out, flush the toilet, and pretend like nothing happened. Why are black men stereotypically more accepting of overweight women? I am saying stereotypically because I do not have statistics off the top of my head to back up this assertion. However, it seems to be true based upon my own personal observations. I am a black woman, and I'm wondering why. I notice that white and Asian men typically seem less accepting of overweight women. White men in particular may still date them, of course, and every individual is different. I have indeed met black men who didn't want to date an overweight woman. But if I am making a generalization here, I definitely hear white and Asian men complaining about a woman being too fat for them more often than I hear black men complaining about it. It's very common in Africa. I am from Africa, now living in America. The best guess I've heard is that it's a subconscious thing. Where I'm from in East Africa is very poor, and an overweight woman signifies wealth and sustenance, therefore making her attractive to a man. Could be true, could be bullshit. It's less a subconscious thing as much as it is a cultural preference at the time. Like right now, bigger women are preferred there for this reason. My family lived in Rwanda for a while, and whenever we would see someone after a long time, they would always compliment my mom having gained weight. What's fashionable is always what's difficult, or else everyone would be fashionable. So in North America, Europe, where fatty foods and sugars are oversaturated, being skinny takes effort. The opposite can be true if the conditions are right. Beauty standards vary by culture. Black people understand weight and shape very differently from white and Asian men. I think, and might be wrong, that you're attracted to what you're used to or grew up with. Asian women are usually petite. So many Asian men grew up around those body types in their family and direct community. Therefore, that's what they're accustomed to and find attractive. In the US, the black population have the highest levels of obesity, so men grew up with larger women being prevalent and found them to be beautiful and normal, so they are more likely to find them attractive. I'm not sure about white men, except that white culture, especially in the media, place a high value on fit women, so perhaps they learned that it's ideal in what they prefer. Like I said, I could be wrong. In my family, my uncle is full Asian, small and thin, and he married my aunt who is white, blonde, 6 feet 1, and curvy. All of their sons married petite white women, but I think that's more of circumstance than a preference, as their dating history is more mixed. Why isn't there kibble for people? I'm talking about the equivalent of dry dog food, those little brown pellets some of us feed our dogs. It's supposed to have all the nutrition a dog needs. Why doesn't this exist for humans? Essentially a cheap food alternative that allows humans to survive a week on a $14 bag of human food. Price is how much I pay at Aldi currently. It seems like a good, hopefully temporary way for someone who is extremely money-strapped or impoverished to survive. I would even guess if properly made would make the impoverished class more healthy than their reliance on cheap processed foods. This qualifies as a too afraid to ask because I afraid to be seen as an elitist. However, I would definitely consider eating something like this if it was available. Edit. Key thing here that people are missing out on is the inexpensiveness of dog food. My dog can be fit and healthy and go on long hikes and runs on just this $14 bag of food. I mean, as someone who has been homeless and broke before, there's technically nothing stopping you from just eating kibble. It's like if Cap'n Crunch tasted like feet dipped in beef broth. There are equivalent whole nutrient foods for people, though they're mostly shags. A large reason that dogs, cats have kibble is that hard abrasive foods are basically their natural equivalent to brushing their teeth. Eating rocks isn't very good for human teeth. Is it really true that in some big cities of Japan, Switzerland, Sweden, and Holland, you can wander around at 12 to 6 a.m. in the streets without anything bad happening to you? Here in the Netherlands, that is the norm in big cities. That's not to say everywhere in each big city all the time, but almost everywhere it is safe all the time. Don't be a pedestrian walking on the bicycle path during rush hour, though. You will get yelled at and get an accidental bruise on your leg. Walk on the sidewalk. Same here in Germany. Very normal. It's also quite normal to only get out of a bar or home from a birthday or party at like 3 to 5 a.m. when you are in your late teenage and early adult years. You can probably also imagine the state, often drunk and/or on other drugs, and often revealing clothing. I can't count how many times I have walked around Hamburg in the absolute middle of the night, taking buses, subways, etc. A few times I went with a buddy and we took our quite expensive cameras and took some nice architecture shots in various parts of the city in the middle of the night. Oh, and by the way, I lived in one of the poorest districts of the city for quite a few years too, and never had anything bad happen to me or heard of anything happen to any of my acquaintances. One time a friend got in a fight with a bouncer at a club, but that's because my friend is kinda dumb, not because it's dangerous. I wouldn't necessarily walk around a handful of parks in one area near our central train station at night, but that's less because I would be in any kind of actual danger, and more because I don't enjoy like 10 people trying to sell me drugs or trying to buy drugs from me. But even in those areas, I never felt in actual danger or anything like that. The only thing I am kind of wary about is having my wallet in an easy-to-access pocket when I am in the Mönchbergstrasse, large shopping street in Hamburg, or at the Jungfernstieg, area with some shopping and nice view and lots of tourists in the middle of the city during the day. But that's because of potential pickpockets, not physical danger. Still far less pickpocket risk than, for example, Lisbon or Rome. How do I tell my gym crush my real name after giving a fake one? This past week, a guy came over to talk to me at the gym. It happens quite a lot, and I usually brush them off politely, but this guy had really good energy. On my way out, he asked my name, and I accidentally blurted out the name that I often give male strangers, baristas. How do I tell him my real name without it being weird? Crazy thought. Tell him the story you just posted as to why you sometimes give a fake name. Then tell him your real name. I don't know why everyone turns these situations into a sitcom. Just tell him your name. In fact, say, "Hey, I was nervous when you came over and I blurted out the name I give randos, but I don't want you to be a rando and my real name is Jimifer McGimface." Right there, you've packed a ton of meaning into a single sentence. Why do rich people still work crazy hours instead of just chilling? It's wiring. I just started working for a startup. The founders took everyone out for happy hour last week. The employees were talking about books, TV shows, games, chronically online trivia, and the founders were just lost. They were like, how do you guys even have the time to learn these things? They had zero context when it came to anything that wasn't directly related to the company. Each of them has exactly one hobby, which is the only thing they do outside of work. I assume rich people are just the after photo of the before that is these kids. Laser focused, no interest in anything unrelated to their goals. No fun, only work and money. It's both intimidating and kind of sad. Then again, so is being able to quote BoJack Horseman episodes from a decade ago verbatim. Some do, but most pretend to. Most won't tell you about the 3-hour lunch breaks they take or the networking groups they're in that are just an excuse to go out to brunch 3 times a week. Or the high-stakes negotiation calls where they're actually sitting in the corner meditating. Because work has become their personality, their social circle, and their identity because they lost all other relationships climbing up. If they were born to rich families, it is kind of the same. They grew up see adults around them talk about work, networking, analyzing which networking even would advance careers. They copy the behaviors and never stop and struggle to form a real, genuine relationship. Voiced by Reddit Rabbit, thank you for watching, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. It helps us grow.